and I can't hold it much longer. Gotta let go so I can be free.
New shows. You know how many new shows or total shows we're going to have in the FT network by mid-February?
I have no idea.
I have an exact number.
That's great. But your jacket right now, it's not that cold.
It's cold.
It's that cold. I can tell. Scotty, your jacket is that a poofy jacket or is that just your arms being ginormous and it's not a poofy?
It's not a poofy jacket. It's like a
It's like a small poofy jacket.
Yeah.
It's like exactly the poofy jacket you would expect Scott to wear.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Like from Gap Kids.
Yes, exactly. Medium at Gap Kids.
It might be.
Gap Kids?
Let's see. I mean, it's like
Scott, is it 12? Is it 12 shows? Are we up to 12 shows by February?
15. Oh, no.
15.
It's Mark, New York.
I don't know.
Ooh.
I know.
Because I was going to say.
Why are you taking it off?
Well, now you guys
Now we made you self-conscious about your jacket?
Screw it.
He's going to put it with the rest of his clothes on your floor.
It is 40 degrees. It is like a high of 47 today here, which is precocious.
Yeah, I don't like to talk about the weather all day long, but it is quite cold in all parts of the Northeast, or the East Coast, I should say, in different ways. But we're about to be up north. We both have flights later.
Sadly.
Saturday, mark your calendars while you're inside, freezing your butt off. 7:15 Eastern time, talking to baseball royalty.
What time do I have to be there?
I don't know. 6?
Tomorrow.
Oh, okay.
Actually, maybe a little before 6 because we're apparently going to get 5.
Oh, because I was thinking like I had to be there like
12.
3.
No. We're
I was
pretty
getting a
fair
little
with
worried.
that.
Okay, good.
Some TV places in the past would have big events and they'd be like, you have to be here 8 hours before. I'm like, you need me there 8 hours before? I'm like, I'm going to be tired by the time we got to go on air. So no, we're pretty fair with that stuff. There it is, 100th Annual New York Baseball Writers Dinner, Saturday night. It's a huge event. It is the premier, really the only awards event in baseball, iconic event, 100 years old. And we are now the rights holder. So we're streaming that-ish.
I want to tell more people about it. Like, I want to tell more people. People just need to tell, like, to me, this is a show that everybody needs to see. Like, we're seeing the MVPs get their awards. We're seeing the Cy Youngs, like the trophies and everything. Everybody loves a trophy. Like, everybody needs to see
I can't wait.
Tell everybody.
Mm-hmm. I can't wait. People are saying in the chat, I'm not excited. I am excited about going to the award show. I'm just not excited about the cold weather y'all have up there. Like, I can't wait to get to New York and do the awards and do that whole thing and get to walk around New York for 3 days and have a great time. Mark's even buying dinner, which is like,
whoa,
the Red Sea parting. But, I mean, I can't wait to get up there
Mark
and have fun.
Dinner. Mark always buys dinner. You don't ever come to our events.
Oh, maybe that's why I didn't know. Man, it was weird. I was in Borgata last week. I swear Mark didn't buy, but that's weird.
No, I think he did.
We were playing.
Oh, I was too busy winning poker tournaments. Sorry.
Sorry about that. Busy winning.
We catered you a meal.
Yes.
We catered a meal. We feed our people.
Yeah.
All right, let's charge. We got some news.
No, before we go, hold on. Kratz was talking about more people needing to know about the awards thing, right? Mm-hmm. I saw something on Twitter today. I think Claudia has the picture of it. And I think it fits perfectly for what he just said about not enough people knowing about stuff. Can we show that the picture of Lindor, Francisco Lindor? Did you see this photo? No. It's unbelievable. I mean, he's at Fashion Week.
Yeah.
Okay. If LeBron James, if Tom Brady was there would be wall-to-wall coverage.
Yeah.
I barely saw this. I only saw it because it's a badass picture of him in cool clothes.
Yeah.
Right?
No doubt.
But how does MLB not have that posted? That should be everywhere.
They did post it.
Yeah, but I mean, it should be blasted everywhere.
This is a bigger problem with our
That's what
sport.
I'm saying. Like the same with the BBWAA thing that we're doing on Saturday. It should be blasted everywhere. Now, we're helping to blast it on Saturday, but the fact that one of our biggest stars in baseball was at Fashion Week in Paris, and I only know because I was fortunate to scroll across it on Twitter, that's wrong. There's something wrong with that. You think if LeBron James wasn't there taking that picture, it wouldn't have been on every channel everywhere?
Very different league approach.
Okay, I'm just saying.
Okay. NBA lets everyone use all of their highlights. NBA considers players partners. It's very, very different the way that they run their league. NBA and MLB are opposite. the way that they have run their league in the past 15 years is completely opposite in terms of business, media,
It's time.
etc. Just letting you know. But we're going to give this thing the attention that it deserves. And also, one of a friend of the show just signed. Let's charge.
Charging the mound.
Friend of the show, Paul Sewald. And known nice guy in MLB, because you know
Good
he's
fella.
up there in that category when you see people actually tweet that. I saw some people be like, one of the nicest guys in the league, and I do full-heartedly agree with that, if that was a word. $7 million over one season to the Cleveland Guardians. The Cleveland Guardians spending a little dough. And if I recall, AJ, their bullpen was pretty damn good last year, so this helps.
Well, it helps because a lot of their bullpen was young. Plus, they lost a couple of those guys.
Who'd they lose?
They traded away Eli Morgan, right?
Oh, right.
And they lost the other guy, the S.
Oh my gosh.
It starts with an S. Sandlin?
Yes.
Something like that.
Nick Sandlin?
Nick
Scanlon.
Sandlin.
Oh.
Yeah,
No,
so
not
they
Scanlon.
lost those two guys. So they needed a righty.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing you have to understand about bullpens is their guys were young last year, other than Class A. And so the bullpens kind of go like this. You're never going to have a historic bullpen like they did last year forever. So I think this is a great signing for the Guardians because it brings in a veteran guy who has closing experience. If God forbid something happens to Class A, he can pitch to 7th, 8th, 9th, whatever you need him to pitch. And he's a veteran guy to stick down there to talk to these guys. So I love this signing. And $7 million, good for you, Paul.
Yep. Easy. That's an easy signing for me. Unfortunately, Cleveland's not going out and getting those big bats. They brought back Santana, but they were never going to make a big move. I mean, it's just Cleveland's MO besides the Edwin Encarnacion signing back in 15, 16, somewhere in there. You know, they never make the big move unless it's a trade. And I like when good teams double down on what they did really well. If you have good defense, hey, add to it. Add a gold glover, add a platinum glover. And to me, I think they had an incredible bullpen and his veteran leadership. He's been to the playoffs. He's pitched in big games. He's had success in big games and failures in big games. So I think he's a great addition to that group.
So last year, Sewald had a 4.31 ERA, 98 ERA plus. ERA is not everything for relievers. We talked to Griffin Jacks about that in yesterday's show. The thing that stands out to me for Sewald is that he did hit a pretty big speed bump last year around July. So you're like, man, what happened? But it's one thing if you see a reliever pop up and have a bad year overall and never really shine. His first 18 appearances last year produced an 0.54 ERA. He was 11 for 11 for saves through June. So for me, I'm usually like, you got off kilter. Cleveland sees something, thinks that they can get him back on track from what happened at the second half of the season. So I'm like, good signing.
Yeah.
You know,
Great signing.
it's not like you looked at him last year
And
you're
they
like,
can
you know
fix
what?
them. They can fix them, though, because Cleveland has a history of kind of fixing guys a little bit. So especially bullpen guys. So I love it. Carl Willis is great there. Stephen Vogt gets it. Stephen Vogt probably knows him from his Seattle days. Let's not forget Stephen Vogt was in Seattle when Sewald was playing there. So I love this signing for the Guardians. I think it's a good one.
Where are we at on the Guardians? We haven't talked about them a lot this offseason. They did have, arguably the best bullpen in baseball last year, maybe not even that much of an argument. And I know you mentioned a couple guys gone, but most of their big boys are there and are young. Obviously, Cade Smith and his fastball, ridiculous. Class A is still a stud. You add Sewald. There are a lot of names in that bullpen that really stand out. So do we feel like the Guardians are still the team to beat in the American League Central?
No.
No?
No.
Homer.
I think the Royals are the team to beat. I think the Tigers and Guardians, you wonder if they can capture what they had last year. Can they go a whole because the rhetoric behind them is, that bullpen, unbelievable. The bullpen pushed them. Can you push the same group of guys? Same with the Tigers, too. Can you push the same group of guys to make another run like that? can Carlos Santana step up for what Josh Naylor? Josh Naylor didn't only have good numbers, clutch. He had clutch homers. He had so many big RBIs for this team. Who's going to step up and be that protection for Jose Ramirez, who down the stretch kind of, for Jose Ramirez style, he slumped a little bit, but I just feel like there's too much. It's too tenuous to be able to say, oh yeah, we're gonna definitely repeat what we did after. I think the Royals have improved. I know they got rid of Singer, but I think they improved an area that they needed to improve in with getting India. And I think I think it's the Royals division because Bobby Witt's only going to get better because he's still super young.
That's true. There is another level for Bobby Witt.
There is, but I just don't know that. Again, is Seth Lugo going to have the same year? Right. I mean, there's a lot that goes into it. I love where the Royals are at and how they've done. They spent some money and done some things. The Tigers, to me, are the team that should be taking that next step, and they didn't go out and sign the people that they've needed to sign so far. So to me, I think they're missing the boat. Now, what will the Twins do? Let's not forget, the Twins had a lead in this division. They were right there until the end. They kind of choked it at the end. And they didn't kind of choke it. They did choke it at the end. So the Twins still believe in what they have. Now,
they didn't have the division.
The playoffs, division, whatever.
They had the playoffs.
I mean, they were right there for a while with the Guardians, too. They were close, right? So they had a chance, and then they choked it away. So will they step up and make a signing here at the end, a late-night Twins kind of under-the-radar signing? I don't know. I know this for a fact. There's one team in that division that ain't winning it. There's 4 other ones that have an opportunity, but there's one in that division that is not winning that division.
You don't like the Tigers?
I just said the Tigers need to take that next step.
I'm kidding. All right. So anyway, we're going to talk more about the Guardians later. Mandy Bell is going to join us. She covers the team on a daily basis. We have 4 guests as part of today's show. We're going to announce a new territory, and then we have some player guests as well, including Jack Flaherty later and Ryan Yarbrough joining us next on FT. FT fam, let's talk Hungry Root for a moment, okay? This is perfect timing, Kratz. It's cold, and I would much rather sit at home, and even if you're feeling like you need to move around, I can go on the treadmill, and I can hit up my phone, and I can place my grocery order with Hungry Root, and they'll handle the personal shopping. And a little added bonus, since you can't be at the grocery store and make sure that the ingredients are high quality and not full of fake crap, they've got that covered for you because there are no artificial sweeteners or preservatives in any of the food they're delivering to you. They're only sourcing top quality meat and seafood free of hormones and antibiotics. So you've got that part, which I know is important to you, covered, but then you can also place the order and not have to be a grizzly bear outside.
You can stay warm. Yes. I'm not afraid of the cold. Cold never bothered me anyway, but they shop the way that I shop. They shop in looking for the things or looking for the ingredients that I look for. I love it because they're not afraid to kind of like think outside the box. Like I probably wouldn't ever get myself one of those chicken jerky sticks that you had the other day. Like that looks like it's delicious. So I love being able to try new things, but also staying in the path that I want to, not just like, oh, here, try this new greasy cheeseburger that you heat up in the microwave. It's all stuff that I would shop for, and all the recommendations are from them. And then I kind of like they choose my path for me, which I love.
It's a good point. There are things that I wouldn't normally order that now I'm trying, and I'm like, oh, that was good.
Plus, I didn't have to go to the grocery store.
Yeah.
That's the best part.
Honestly. That is the best part.
Because there's nothing worse than walking in the grocery store, Kratz, you've never experienced, and all these people just run up to you and say, oh my gosh, you actually shop?
AJ Pierzynski? What? It's you? All right.
Don't you somebody that's more famous than you? How did that famous person let you into their neighborhood?
I ask that question all the time, why they allowed me to become more famous than them.
And that famous person Gets 40% off their first box plus a free item in every box for life at hungryroot.com/FT using code FT. 40% off first box, free item of your choice for life. hungryroot.com/FT, code FT. Back on FT with Ryan Yarbrough, who might be texting with a team right now. Free agent Ryan Yarbrough. Ryan, great to have you on, dude. Obviously, we can have fun with this. I don't know if you're aware, but you're not alone. There are probably like 100 people in your spot that will be on a big league team this year that unfortunately cannot book their spring training home situation at the moment. How you doing, bud?
Good. Yeah, man, it's definitely crazy to think about. Spring training starts in 3 weeks right now for pitchers and catchers, and we still don't know where we're going yet. So it's pretty crazy to think about.
How does that work? I mean, are you getting nervous yet? Because you're going to find a job, but are you nervous yet? Is your wife nervous? Is your mom and dad calling you saying, "Where are you, Yarbs? Where are you going to sign?" Because I know when I was a free agent, and once it hit like Christmas time, if you hadn't signed, everybody, every time they see you, what are you not playing next year? Did you retire? Why haven't you signed with the Dodgers? Like every team, every person.
Yeah, it's I feel like every new year comes around and everything just ramps up in general because you realize, the holidays are over, spring training starts in a couple of weeks. But yeah, it's strange, I feel like it's harder on your family a little bit just because the drop of a hat, I could get on a flight tomorrow or in 2 days where, wife and kids, they got to figure out all the logistics and kind of get everything ready, packed up for 6-7 months. So I feel like that's the hardest part, but you just don't really know right now. There's been interest, but like, it's just kind of a waiting game. You get itchy, but like you said, it'll work out. But right now, it's just kind of like, you'd rather know sooner rather than later to kind of get everything lined up and good to go.
How much does your place cost extra for spring training now that it's January 20? Oh, they're getting you on the last minute, and everyone's swooped up all the nice places already. So how much extra? I mean, you got to cook that into your contract. Be like, all right, I'll take $8 million and $14,000 because that's how much extra my rent is going to be when I get there.
Yeah, that's, we paid some LA prices for season out there, and you thought that was crazy. The closer you get, the harder it becomes. Being here in Tampa, luckily there's a few teams around here that would be perfect situation. You can just stay at home, but realistically, that's probably not the easiest thing to happen with so many other teams across the state and in Arizona. So, we'll just have to keep things pretty flowing pretty easily. Like you just got to play it by ear and just hope something works out pretty well.
All right, this is probably way outside the box, and your wife may say, tell that nerd to never ask that again. But did you ever think about, you're close to a lot of teams. Did you ever think about doing a house swap where you're like, hey, let's say Bregman signs with the Yankees, and you're like, hey, you want to rent my house for spring training? I know you're rich. I'll double the cost. Like, or is that a no-fly zone?
No, I mean, we a couple years ago we let a teammate stay here in Tampa. I mean, it was kind of a hike when he played for the Tigers, so in Lakeland. I mean, he was willing to drive the 45 minutes to an hour, so we just let him crash here, him and his wife. So, I mean, if someone wants to do that, I'm all ears for that because it's going to be a nicer spot, and we feel like we'd be comfortable letting people stay here and make that pretty easy. So, I'm all for it. If you got the connections, Kratzy, let me know, man. We'll work something out.
Who was it?
It was a former teammate of mine, Matt Whistler. The Sliders.
Yeah, I know Matt Whistler.
Slider City.
Went from a starting pitcher to old slider baller every pitch. Dude, he should have stayed in Orlando, bro. His uncle's richer than hell living in Orlando. Jared.
He doesn't give him money.
Huh?
Why
Could have
does he
stayed
have
in
to
his
stay
rich
near
house
his
over here in
uncle?
Orlando. Whistler could have.
I have a business proposal. Ryan, it sounds like Arizona is obviously always the spot that the prices get crazy, and you can basically get a place and be close enough to any ballpark, right? Versus
Right.
Florida, where obviously you need to know where you're going to be. But I do think it could be easier to get spots late. Why not just get a spot, secure it in Arizona, 50-50 chance that you use it. If not, there's 100 other people like you that you can pass the baton to. I
Yeah,
actually think it
there's
makes sense.
Yeah, especially like you said, Arizona is just because you could literally book anywhere around Phoenix and you could just make it work, 30, 40-minute drive realistically. And so that's easy. But yeah, I mean, that's probably the easiest play at that point, just because you got a 50-50 chance of teams out there. So, I haven't really thought about that. Probably my wife has already thought about that, has been looking at places, who knows? But, as long as they're comfortable, I mean, I could sleep anywhere. We do so many different stops throughout the year and everything like that, where it's just kind of wherever you can kind of take a nap or get some sleep and get ready to go the next day.
Listen, your wife is much nicer than mine. Okay, I'm gonna say this right now.
What?
Because there is no chance on God's green
He
earth
says a
that my wife
saint.
would ever rent my house.
Oh, this
No
house.
chance.
Yeah.
Any house I've ever lived in,
Mhm.
there's no chance. She'd be like, "Hey," I'd be like, "Hey, Ryan Yarbrough wants to come live in our house in spring training, and we're gonna be in Arizona." She would be like, "Hell no,
Can you get the studio?
no." She
Not the
would. She
studio?
would never allow that ever in a million years.
There's a urinal here.
That doesn't matter. Still, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Oh man, one time, yeah, a player, yeah, it was a no. It was a no. One time it happened, and someone called me, and I was like, no, not happening.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
Wasn't gonna
Ryan,
happen.
Ryan, I have a place in downtown, and I'm not there half the time, so you're welcome to use that if need be. But there are no
Perfect.
teams around here.
Perfect.
Yeah. So there you go. All right. Let me move to a club you've spent a good chunk of time with. What do you think of the Dodgers offseason and fans complaining that they're the only team that cares?
They're just, they're not waiting around. They're not messing around for sure. They've kind of seen the guys they really like, and they're just pulling the trigger. So, I'm excited for them. I think there's all those guys that they were kind of, you're not surprised by. Even last year, you were talking to, my locker was right next to Evan Phillips. I knew he was really close with Tanner Scott, and you're like, dude, how would you feel about that guy coming here next year? He's like, dude, like, I'm already trying to whisper a little bit, and so like I knew he was like, and with how nasty that guy's stuff was, and then everyone wants Roki, so and obviously bringing Teo back and Snell, there's a connection there from Friedman and all the Rays guys years over there. So man, it's crazy to think about how deep they are, and they're basically, we looked at all the young guys that are going to be in AAA or up and down, and those guys are good players too, and the fact that they're kind of getting pushed out a little bit, it's mind blowing.
Did you change your number? Did they not call you yet? Did they not? Once the Dodgers didn't call you, because if you change their number, I'll give it to Doc or somebody so they can make sure they call you.
No, they all got it, but they kind of have so many mouths to feed right now, man. It's nuts.
Yeah, but you don't even eat that much. You're not that big. You're kind of you're on the cut. You're a skinny guy. You won't eat that much. You won't even make that big a deal. You just need a spot on 26 mans, right?
Just for me to eat some innings, whenever you need it. No big deal. Did that for 4 months with them last year, so they definitely have a good understanding of what I'm about. But no, it's one of those things where just waiting for the right opportunity. But I mean, what they're doing over there is crazy, the amount of talent they're accumulating.
Talk about the Blue Jays, because one of the things that I brought up and got a little flack for, tell us, you just lived it. The fact that when you go to Toronto and your family, the girls are, they're not afraid of traveling. They make some flights. How much honestly more difficult is it for them traveling to and from Toronto? Because you, just like you said, spring training, you're bringing, you can sleep anywhere. You're drop of a hat, you'll get on a flight. You're on a team flight leaving Toronto. How tough is it for them now in 2024? You just saw it happen. They just went through it.
Yeah, I think that was the craziest part. Was anytime you get moved mid-season, it's really hard just because you literally have to pick up everything and go. And like ours was in like a 2 to 3 day span, and they ended up coming with me, and we met them in New York we were lucky enough, and I think that was maybe the toughest part about maybe with family is going to Toronto was we luckily had both of our daughters had passports and they're 3 and 1, which even I'm sure most people with their kids don't necessarily have them just because you don't really think about it unless you're just traveling in the off season or anything. But we got them luckily when we said we had with LA, we went and started the year in Korea, so we had like this big like passport expo. So we're like, I might as well like get the girls done, like they're here, like take advantage of it. Because if that hadn't happened, like they probably wouldn't be able to come see me at all for those 2 months I was there. So we were lucky in that aspect, but it's just an added little layer of getting over the border. They try to make it as easy as possible, but it's just still something you have to do every single time you go there. It's just part of it. And then there's just only certain airlines you can use getting in and out because of just being in a different country. So like fighting that where you have maybe more options flying in the States. So just a little bit more logistical things you have to take care of. And anytime you do it mid-season, it just makes things a little bit more complicated and just kind of having to stay on top of things.
Ryan, you're talking about Toronto and not a lot of flights. Well, you were on the Rays for a long time and also on KC, right? And then you go to the Dodgers team with these guys, these Shohei and Freddie and Mookie and the star-studded people that they had. What was the biggest difference you saw between the Rays following and the Dodgers following?
They traveled everywhere. Like we literally were across the whole country, and well, I mean, early in the year, those were probably the coolest games I've been a part of. Whenever you're playing uh, in division, especially because I mean, I grew up in Florida here. You don't really know too much about it. Hearing the beat LA chants everywhere, no matter what the score is, and then especially when we went to San Diego, that's pretty incredible hostile environment coming in as a Dodger player. Just the amount of like support and like how bad they want to beat you there. So those are really cool atmospheres. But yeah, when we were, I mean, that's just how Tampa is. You'd have some people like everywhere you go, but like it was like a whole different animal. Like we went to Boston across the country, and that was like, well, you could see a whole giant blue section in the stadium. Like there's a certain like community. I can't even remember. It's like someone with the Pantone Blue, or they call themselves certain. I don't want to butcher it, but like they literally have a whole community that they travel everywhere and they meet everywhere and they can all sit together and have this community. So it was crazy how they traveled and how extensively and how big of a group that would travel everywhere.
You played in the division against the Yankees. Now you played with the Dodgers. Do you envision any time in our lifetime or even in the next 10 years that more people start to follow the Dodgers than the Yankees because of what they're building out there?
Man, I mean, with what they're doing right now, it's incredible, and I mean, you probably could, especially with how many like across the globe, especially with all the three big name Japanese guys that they have on board, and they obviously got the guy from Korea as well. So they're broadening it, and obviously their household name, like when you think of Major League Baseball, there's a handful of teams you could think of. Obviously, Yankees and Dodgers are probably two of the bigger ones. So, I mean, man, especially with all the success they've had and the big names they're acquiring, it wouldn't surprise me by any means. Which is not to take away from anything. It's just crazy what they've kind of been building and the amount of talent. Like I said, the talent that they're kind of accumulating.
Ryan, we'll talk to you, of course, after you end up signing with the ball club. But is there any other insight that you can give us into your experience throughout the offseason here of what it's like to be a free agent? I think the easiest way to slice this is that there are some guys who call their agents every day. There are some guys who tell us they don't ask anything or want any phone calls until they get a major league offer, and most kind of fall in between there with like the weekly check-ins. But how has your experience been, obviously without getting into the team side of things until you sign?
Yeah, it's I try to not bother my agent too much about it. It's been one of those things where we've kind of talked about it. He's like, hey, like if I get any new information or when a certain team reaches out, like I'll let you know and kind of what the talks are about and kind of how they're gauging things. So we talk pretty regularly in that end, like, hey, I heard from this team for you, like, and this is down the interest level. They're talking to you right now. So, but I try not to be like, hey, what do we got? Because there's so many things out there already, like of all the rumors and everything, like just from players in general. So, but no, I think it's been a little. So I had a little bit of experience because I got non-tendered a couple of years ago. So you have that, like, it is free agency, but like you're still part of the system in a way once you get signed. So, and that ended up happening pretty quickly. So like that was not like having to play the waiting game, where this is like a little bit more extensive and trying to like just find the waiting for your opportunity in your market to kind of start being created. So it's just a lot of waiting and trying to focus on like your lifts and your bullpens and preparing for that way, but like just letting things kind of play out and know you'll end up in the right spot.
Do you prepare any differently not knowing where you're going? Because do you change your bullpen schedule? Do you change your lifting schedule? Because if you're already with the team, a lot of teams reach out and say, hey, we need you to be ready to go for here, for there, whatever it is. So do you change anything because you don't know where you're going right now?
No, but it is a good point, because like then teams will say, hey, we want you to kind of stretch out a certain bit or be at this innings by the end of spring training. Luckily, like I've ended up being more of a guy who's been stretched out anyways over camp every year in my career. So I'm just trying to keep it the same, where I'm just worrying about building up and throwing like 8 to 10 bullpens, whatever it might be, just like trying to work backwards, okay, being into camp so I can be ready to go, because normally you throw a couple of IPPs right when you get to camp. So just thinking on it in that regard, and then obviously whenever you sign, you'll really get those talks and kind of how you really want to jumpstart it and make sure you're good to go right when camp starts.
One of the things I hear from fans all the time, well, why didn't you go and play for this team? It's like, well, they never called. If you had it your way, is there a team of the ones you haven't played for that you're like, this is intriguing, I always played against them, or I love that city, or my wife is from there, or I really hate this team, I want to never play for them? What is there a team that you want to play for that you're like, man, I hope they call?
Man, honestly, I haven't really had that thought. We've weirdly had like you said, I've played for the Rays, Kansas City, LA, and Toronto. So we've literally done East Coast, Midwest, West Coast, in a different country. So like across, the league, we can make that work, across the country. So we've always just looked at it as best opportunity, especially with these new rules. It's like you kind of see all the places. I know everyone thinks it's kind of a cop-out, and kind of a boring answer, but, you just want to go where you have a good opportunity to kind of have some success and, play for a good club. So I know it's kind of the boring answer, but, I don't, unless you get the luxury of having some multiple offers and stuff like that, and you kind of pick and choose, you just want to be able to get a good opportunity.
No, I think it's fair, though, because we're getting some questions in the chat. Like, would he sign with this team? Would he sign with that team? And my reply is, yeah, I think if he gets the right offer and situation, he would consider all of those teams. Like, Ryan is not, playing the Juan Soto game. Like, what else will you give me?
Yeah, did you have meetings? Have you been wined and dined like Juan Soto? Have you had meetings like Sasaki, Ryan, where they bring in these stars to talk to you?
Wow, like what a time that would be to have those kind of conversations,
right?
Being
Right,
like that. But no, I don't think I'm gonna get those opportunities. I'm sure I'll get the couple of phone calls or maybe a Zoom call or something like that.
Yeah, why can't if Sasaki gets like Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman, Yamamoto, Shohei, why can't you get like a meeting with like Austin Barnes and like and like Baum? Like they don't even bring Doc in; they bring whoever the de facto bench coach is going to be, and they're just like, "Hey, Ryan, you want a burger and some fries and sign with the Dodgers?"
Yeah, we'll meet at In-N-Out and we'll just hang out and get to know each other a little bit.
That's real.
Yeah, and he'll say Major League offer. I'm
You're
in.
a grinder.
That's right. Kratz, you're repping Philly. AJ's repping the White Sox.
Here's the thing. Every person, though, you talk to thinks every free agent gets that. Some people. My family members have said the same thing. Yep. They're like, everyone thinks that just because you're a free agent, you get that. I'm like, no, that doesn't happen to everybody.
Usually the phone calls now are, oh, well, you didn't do this well. You didn't do that well.
Your FIP wasn't perfect.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't worry. That darn FIP gets you every time.
Well, Ryan, hit us up when you sign, okay? We'll bring you back on and we'll talk about it.
Yeah, would love to. Appreciate it.
Well, good luck, dude. Hopefully
good luck surviving this cold front we're going through in Florida.
Yeah, stay inside. Scott stay safe.
Yes, because there is a good chance I got frostbite when I walked my dogs today.
I haven't seen the sun in like 4 days, and I'm going through withdrawals right now. And most people are like, "Yeah, that's just how life is during the winter months." And it's like, not in Florida. This is not normal.
Yeah,
No.
we're suffering down here. So stay strong, Yarbs. All right, we'll talk to you soon, dude.
All right, appreciate it, guys.
Appreciate you, Ryan Yarbrough, with us. We'll get him back when he signs. I'm going to do this here if this is okay. Just baby signing. John Birdie signed. He got major league money. Did you see that?
Yeah. Good for him.
He's a Cub. Depth piece.
That's their big move. They're in the 8th inning right now of the Cubs offseason. They got Kyle Tucker and John Birdie.
They're in the mix for a lot of relievers. We'll get to that actually in spreading rumors next. But $2 million base salary, up to $1.3 million in incentives. Need depth.
Good for him. Big league deal. Good
solid
for him.
player.
It's a nice piece too. Play a lot of positions, can steal you a base. It's a good pickup for the Cubs.
Surplus value.
Created surplus value, definitely. I was going to say created surplus value, but he also created his career. He wasn't getting many opportunities, kind of squandering in the minor leagues a little bit, and then he finally got his opportunity as an older player, and he's stuck and been. I know he was hurt last year. Probably would have won the World Series had he been healthy for the. Oh wait, he did play in the playoffs, but then they benched him.
Yeah, picked up a half a win of Baseball Reference WAR in 25 games last year with the Yankees. So I'm sure their projection model has him as a 2-win player if he plays a full season. And so they're going.
There's also this thing called overexposure.
2 wins. If we value each win at 10,
there's
we're
also,
getting a guy
there's
for
also
$2
a thing
million
called
for 20.
overexposure. I mean, I know he was.
Well,
hurt,
no, he knows his role. He's
I hate when you
match.
can't project that out because if you had the same guy, sometimes guys that play 25 games and do great, if they have to play 125, guess what? Kratz, they figure out you can't hit the slider, or they figure out something about you. Whereas if you come in for that and you're hitting 8th in the bottom of the order, and they're like, "Oh, who's this guy? We don't really know much about him." Even if you're a veteran guy, because Kratz will tell you, there's times as the catcher and as the pitcher, you're like, Erik Kratz is up. Just throw him sliders down the way. If we have to throw a fastball, just make sure you can't hit it or whatever. You just all right. Next, let's think about right. Like there are times, and that's where you can,
100%.
as a bench player, you can kind of sneak attack some guys sometimes.
That's when smarter, older players, not young prospects coming to sit on the bench. They don't understand that guys are going to do that. That is, I mean, I can show you so many of my highlights. There's very few highlights of my big league career. Most of them are exact situations that you talked about, AJ. Like, we just got to get through this 8-9 hitter. Kratz, whack, homer. Dang it, I should have paid a little more attention.
Spreading rumors. Sahadev Sharma and Patrick Mooney from The Athletic, along with the hosts, their dual role as Northside Territory hosts, posted about the Cubs' interest in a number of different relievers. Chandler Rome quote tweeted them and said the Cubs are among the teams that have shown interest in acquiring, I can't talk today, Ryan Presley, I'm too cold, who is still being very actively shopped by the Houston Astros. Other
I'm not
names.
turning on the heat, Scott.
I don't want it. I'm not asking for it. I just want my coat back. Other names.
You give me money for the electric bill. I'm not turning on the heat.
Other names being mentioned for the Cubs: Kenley Jansen, David Robertson, basically every reliever on the market. Phil Maton, Ryan Stanek, Brooks Raley. I do think the Astros are going to end up trading Ryan Presley.
He's valuable right now.
They're just going to have to eat a little bit of money. Not a lot. Maybe a few million bucks.
Because if you look at if he was on the free agent market, he'd probably get more than what he would get for 1 year. So I don't necessarily agree with that.
You think they'll just be able to trade him straight up?
I think if they find the right trade partner, they should be able to. But why are they trading him? Why don't they just ride it out 1 more year?
They're trying to maintain their budget.
Come on. What's he make, 13 this year?
I think it's 14 coming up.
I think it's
Oh,
14.
sorry, that 1
I
million.
think it's 14.
Okay.
Excuse me.
Yeah, sorry, that 1 million is really going to put Jim
If-
Crane out of business.
If they have to eat,
14.
some of that money, I think the market is broken. I don't see why Ryan Presley would have to make less than 14 million.
Would you rather have him or Aroldis Chapman?
Presley.
I don't think it's close.
I take
Presley.
Presley.
Yeah, I take Presley.
Ryan
So
Presley.
Chapman got a little under 11, and Presley is due to make 14. I mean, what are we doing here? Good pitcher.
Surplus value.
And oh, if the playoffs come
He
along,
doesn't have any surplus value.
no. If the playoffs come along,
Woof.
check out the track record.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, pretty good. All right, next up, the Reds are talking to Carlos Estevez. It sounded like the Blue Jays and Cubs have been interested in him as well, as most people should be interested in Estevez. 57 saves the past couple seasons. I like that for Cincinnati.
I love that for Cincinnati.
Yeah.
I love
I
that.
saw one comment.
Love it.
One comment was like, they already have Alexis Diaz. I'm like, so? What?
So what?
God.
I love this. Are you kidding me?
Guys, you need to stockpile
Like, Cincinnati
relievers.
has a great opportunity this year with Tito coming in, kind of like what Cleveland did when Cleveland brought in Tito. They actually did spend. They brought in Swisher. Remember, they brought in some other guys to try to make that team better that
Mhm.
year when Tito was there. They tried to sign me, and I didn't end up going there because I was like,
What happened?
I ended up in Texas, I think, which ended up worked out better for me.
Yes.
But
They got
were-
Young
were-
Gomes.
yeah, exactly. I got Young.
Wait, hold up. Why'd you say?
Huh?
You were like, Dallas or Cleveland? Is that what happened?
No, there was way more than that, but
Oh, okay.
whatever. But I love this because, you get Tito, you go
Mhm.
get Brady Singer,
Okay.
right? You're allegedly going to have McLean back. You're going to have all the young kids coming up, all the guys off,
lot of
hopefully
arms.
suspensions, a lot of arms.
First
hopefully
round
you can
arms.
keep healthy, okay? And then if you can get another bullpen piece in Carlos Estevez, who has great track record of closing games out and is pitching the postseason, go do this, Cincinnati, please. Now, like, it should be done already because you have a chance to win the division because the Brewers have gotten worse, I think we all agree. The Cubs haven't made the moves to take the
They're
next
better,
step. Huh?
They're better.
Who? Yeah, but I mean, they haven't. They were an 8, but I don't. Are
yes.
they taking a large enough step?
No,
where you're like
they're
they're
not
winning the
winning
division by
100
10 games.
No.
Exactly. The Pittsburgh's still Pittsburgh. I mean, I love this one for Cincinnati.
You like the Reds this year, don't you?
I picked the Reds to win last year, and they.
Okay.
My only fear,
I like it.
with Carlos Estevez is he's not the strikeouts for the role that he's going to be playing in, and in that division. I mean, in that field at Great American Small Park. Little fearful of that, but to me, you add, and I would go on what AJ said. I completely agree with everything except for he said for this year. They have an opportunity to win for quite a few years, in my opinion. And adding a Carlos Estevez, if it's on a 1-year deal, if he's a guy that you can get for 2 years, like this is how they have to be thinking because their window is now, and their window to me is probably like a 3-year window.
Can I counter your point on Estevez? Because I've seen quite a few write-ups that are like, well, his strikeout numbers were down. Agreed. But he doesn't walk anyone. And if you're in Cincinnati, you
gets out.
cannot put players on or runners on base, right? You cannot walk dudes.
And
No
he
free
gets
passes in
He
Cincinnati.
gets big outs too, and he's done it
Yeah.
this isn't a one-hit guy, 1-year guy. He's done it.
Yeah, he's going to give up some contact. Okay.
Yeah, fine.
He's not going to get the Tanner Scott
But so does
contract.
Edwin Diaz, and he strikes out the world, but he still gives up contact after walking 3 guys and gives up a homer sometimes. I mean, stuff like that happens.
Yeah.
I mean, Craig Kimbrell forever, that's why he was so great. He struck everybody out, but when he started walking guys and took 1 hit and he blew a save.
Mhm. I think some Philly fans thought he was going to be like invincible, right?
He was
Kratz?
good for them, though.
He was good, but he wasn't amazing, right?
Well, I mean, compared to who he was put in the bullpen with, I think they thought they were getting like a lockdown closer. But when you're comparing them to Strom and Hoffman, like dudes weren't giving up runs for like entire months at a time. He's not on that level, but he has experience. He has the ability. Like you need more than one closer. Everyone who says Alexis Diaz, like, hey, awesome, great job. You need 2 more guys. If you want to be a true playoff contender. Not just, make the playoffs. Like a playoff contender, you need that.
One more rumor, a report yesterday from Dennis Lin and Dan Hayes, who cover the Padres and the Twins. They said there could be a deal with the Padres acquiring Christian Vázquez, who's making $10 million coming up this season. So the Twins are going to have to eat some of that money. The even more interesting part to me was that the Twins are looking into Dylan Cease, but they'd rather give up quantity over quality. And I'm like, okay, well, good luck with that. If the Padres are trading Dylan Cease, who is a Cy Young candidate type, then AJ Preller's going to get him some quality over quantity when you're making a trade like that. And Preller's actually pretty good at that in prospect deals in the past. He'd rather get one name he really loves than 4 names. You know, look at the difference between his deal, his James Shields deal, and the Pirates Garrett Cole deal. That should tell it all. Pirates get like 4 or 5 prospects. I don't think any of them panned out. He gets Tatis. That's the type of player that he looks for. He'd rather take 1 over 4. Anyway, thoughts on any of this? I mean, Vázquez obviously makes sense for them. They lost Higgy. Campusano
struggled. He was the worst catcher in baseball last year defensively.
He has struggles on D, and they know it.
I mean, Vázquez makes sense. He hadn't hit for a couple of years since he's gone to Minnesota. He hasn't hit a lick. He's actually struggled. He kind of got to play a lot either. He kind of lost his job.
Yeah, he lost his job to Jeffers, but the pitchers, I think, like working with him still.
Yeah, I mean, listen, Christian Vázquez, he's had a nice career. He's done some things, won a World Series. So I like this move for San Diego, but the $10 million, if they don't have any money, why would they take $10 million on salary? The Twins are going to have to send some money with them.
Yeah, I think they're going to probably have to eat half the contract, Kratz.
He's won 2 World Series, actually. And there's value in that.
I forgot about
there's
Boston and Houston.
Houston. I forgot he was in Houston.
Yeah. And I mean, is it a good pickup? Yes. To me, I thought San Diego needed to bring Higgy back, but clearly as the offseason goes on, you're seeing that they are strapped for cash and they're not able to add. So going outside the box, looking at a trade, and I think his time is up in Minnesota. Jeffers has really stepped up and been really, really good behind the plate. And Christian Vázquez is going to give you, to me, what Scott said was perfect. $5 million. I think $5 million for Christian Vázquez is very good because I think it still gives Campusano time to maybe become what they hoped he was. He just has so much movement at the plate, and behind the plate, he looks too stiff. It looks like he's like panicked a little bit. Maybe a young guy that just needs to play more and needs to continue to improve.
Yeah, and I think the Twins would take that 5. I think that's the number they're going to settle on. Right now, they're battling. I'm sure that's the situation. They're battling on what the number is that they're going to eat. But the Cease part's super interesting, too. It would be crazy to see the Padres giving Cease to the Twins. But anyway, we'll
I don't think the Twins have the prospect capital to make that happen.
I actually do think they have the prospect capital to make that happen. I don't think they will trade that prospect capital.
I asked why they traded for him last year, and they almost beat the Dodgers and made the World Series. So I'm going to ask, why would they trade him this year when he's going to be a free agent?
$13.75 million. There's something going on there.
So you trade Dylan Cease for, let's say, for Christian Vázquez.
No, it's not the same. I don't think that's in the same trade.
Okay, well, I'm just saying. But either way, the money goes either way. Okay, if he goes 13.75.
Yeah.
And even if they have D5, so you're going to trade Dylan Cease away to save $8 million.
To me, it's crazy. I would not trade Dylan Cease
to me.
I
just saying.
Look back, start of the offseason when some people threw his name out for rumors. I was like, that's insane. Why would you trade him? He could be a top 3 Cy Young guy in the National League this year. And he's in his platform season, which you always like. Anyway, we're going to get back to the Guardians. They made the big signing over the past 24 hours. Mandy Bell will join us next on Foul Territory. I don't want to spend a whole segment on this, but I did want to bring it up during a break. Did you see Roki Sasaki's press conference yesterday and the part that stood out to most people that watched?
Mm-mm.
He said...
I didn't see any of it.
That
again, on the same level?
Stability in the front office was a really important factor with him, which was obviously a dig at the Padres strife, and even the Blue Jays with front office guys that are lame ducks in their contracts. Meanwhile, Shohei Ohtani has a clause in his contract that if ownership or president of baseball operations moves on, he can opt out. So I do understand that part. It matters. At the same time, I think that was pre-coordinated. Like, if you really felt that way, why were your 3 finalists, the 2 of them, having that kind of issue?
Because there was nobody else he was going to except
Correct.
for Los
Thank
Angeles.
you. That's why. I'm like,
Come on. God,
me-
you're better than this.
well, no, the point of this that I bring up is Padres fans, I feel for you here because I think he's taking a shot that is unnecessary at you. Oh, well, I ultimately made this call because, I want stability.
Come on. That's just
Then why are you dragging
Jeremy
me
has
along?
a better question. Jeremy has the better question for us. Why did he go R Sasaki? What? Because is there another Sasaki on the Dodgers? Like, is there like?
Oh, I don't know. I didn't catch that. That's the specific stuff where you guys
See right there, boom.
see people that have haircuts.
Like, what kind of car? I want to know what kind of car he was brought in.
A black car?
Oh, Uber Select, maybe? Uber Black, maybe?
There's some articles, including Alden Gonzalez's story from yesterday, that he spoke to more team officials, and they're really pissed that they gave up proprietary info on how he can get his fastball groove back, like his velo and
Other teams
some more
did?
spin. Yeah, they're like, we
Come
gave
on,
up our
bro.
proprietary info.
You know what this leads me back to? When the White Sox didn't interview anybody for their GM. Like, they think about it. They could have got proprietary info.
That's
from
why
49
you
other
do it.
teams. I know.
You play that process out. And if you really, really thought he had no chance of signing with your team, then you should have called Sasaki and his agent and said, bug off. We don't believe you.
So
What
what
if
did they
one
say?
team
Oh, we
said-
think by moving your wrist a quarter an inch. Like, you think the
Come
Dodgers ain't
on.
telling them the same stuff? Come on,
I'm like,
man. Come on,
Listen,
proprietary
I'm on both
info.
sides of the spectrum here. On that side, I'm like, you don't have crap. He's fine. He knows what he's got to do from the Dodgers. On the other side of it, no matter what excuse he says, I don't believe that he had any other real team in mind beside the Dodgers. We all talked about that for 3 freaking months. And there's your segment. Mandy Bell, Guardians, next. Here we go. MLB.com's Mandy Bell joining us right now to talk about the Cleveland Guardians. Happy offseason, almost spring training to you, Mandy, and hope you're staying warm wherever you are stationed at the moment. Are you in Cleveland right now?
Yeah, it's actually warm today. It's 22 degrees.
Woo! There you go. Not bad. All
take
right.
it.
Well, we're going to
It's
dive.
almost as warm as Florida.
Yeah, pretty close.
We're almost there.
The morning's 30s. Yeah, we're almost there. Well, spring training is soon.
You know what Joe Kim Noah said?
What?
Ain't nobody ever said they want to go on vacation in Cleveland. I'm just saying.
Did he say that?
Yes, he said that one time. When he was playing for the Bulls, he said it.
Wow.
He said, you never hear about anybody saying they're going on vacation to Cleveland. I love Cleveland.
Cleveland in the
fun.
summertime. For a
Cleveland
game.
rocks.
Yeah. All right. Well, we got to get Mandy back on track and get a nice smile. Okay. There it is. All right. So, Mandy, we're going to hit storylines. Let's get to biz and cue up the 2025 little piece that we have here. Okay, Mandy, let's talk about the Cleveland Guardians and what they are expecting heading into this 2025 campaign. We're going to go over the first base swap, big Christmas, Jose Ramirez, and the Travis Bazzana potential of making an impact in 2025. Of course, they also added a reliever. We can do that on the back end. So let's start with what I think is fascinating. I'm going to be watching, Mandy, Carlos Santana and Josh Naylor this season at bat for at bat and seeing if it was worth them acquiring a pick and an arm in order to ship off one of the heart and soul guys of the team. Your thoughts on this swap?
Yeah, you're not going to be the only one. I think every Cleveland fan out there is going to be watching every single at bat to compare the same thing. It's tough. I don't know. This one's hard to see because it's just, it seemed like it made so much more sense to hang on to him until maybe the trade deadline and figure things out and allow this offense to maybe still have some stability. That's not saying that they won't, but to think of Carlos Santana, who's starting to inch closer and closer to 40 years old, of being maybe your cleanup guy. It just seems like they're missing a couple pieces in their offense right now. And I know Josh Naylor wasn't as consistent as he was in years past last year, but he also added more power. And for a lineup that hasn't had much power, I think there was a lot to say for being able to just have that threat behind Jose Ramirez. So I think there's going to be a lot to learn. And I do think that this opens the door a little bit for Kyle Manzardo, who was great in his second stint up in the big leagues last year, allows him to get more at bats. But if they're starting to look at him maybe in that 2 spot, because that's where they liked him toward the end of last year, still not giving Jose Ramirez a lot to work with behind him. So I don't know. I think it's going to be, it was obviously a risk. It ends up being that Carlos Santana is more expensive than Josh Naylor, so you can't even just say money. So I'm not really sure. I think the offense is going to have to really figure some things out, and a lot of things are going to have to go right.
My thing is Josh Naylor protected Jose Ramirez. His energy, his passion, his big hit ability. That's what I don't know that Carlos Santana. Now, listen, he had a nice year last year. He hit 20-plus homers, he hit 23 homers. And I know Naylor obviously outdid that, but can he bring the protection? Because that's the biggest key for me. Who's going to protect Jose Ramirez? And Josh Naylor did a great job. Josh Naylor was the kind of guy, when they walked Jose Ramirez, he wanted that at bat. Now, I'm not saying Carlos Santana isn't that guy, but that was the biggest thing for me, is who's going to protect Jose Ramirez, and can Carlos Santana be that guy?
Yeah, I mean, Josh Naylor was a presence. This was a guy that would headbutt his bat running down the first baseline. Like, he was a presence in the box, no matter what he was doing statistically. And he was a power threat. And that was a threat to have behind Jose. We don't know exactly what Carlos Santana is. Now, he had a solid year last year. Before that, it started to look like he was starting to decline, as it happens whenever you start to get older. So we don't know what version of Carlos Santana that the Guardians are going to get this year. But it doesn't seem like right now it's easy to project that will match the same threat that they had in Josh Naylor. So I don't know if you have the same protection. Now, I know they loved the fact that he was always walking and that he was exceptional with his plate discipline. But again, we've started to see those numbers start to slip as he gets older. And again, all of this is supposed to happen as you get closer to 40. So that's why it's not supposed to be the guy that you're really revolving your whole lineup around. So I think that's why there's just so many questions right now.
We showed the projected lineup before, and maybe we can put that back up again. Is there any way that we can get Big Christmas into that lineup more often? Or does Cleveland feel like his 33% strikeout rate is only going to go up if he's in the lineup more?
Trust me, I think just for the nickname alone, we need to get him in there more often. I think that's fun to say. But I mean, I don't know. It's going to be where he has to show that. And it's going to start in spring training. Now, they have a lot more to still see with Will Brennan. They're starting to get an idea of who he was. And last year just wasn't the guy. But when we think back to 2022, when he came up and he was in the postseason, that's the taste that everyone's like, oh my gosh, okay, so there is potential in there. So everyone's waiting for that to come back. But the longer you wait, the harder it is, because then you're not giving opportunities to other people. So they did this thing where they were really going back and forth between Jhonkensy Noel and Will Brennan last year. And maybe they do the same thing again this year. But they need to figure out how to get consistency, and to always flip-flop. It's hard to get someone like Jhonkensy Noel going, because he is going to have a high strikeout rate. And so when you're giving him the smallest sample sizes to try to prove himself, it's not like he really has that time to get going. So I think it's going to have to be starting in spring training, where he's showing that he can improve that plate discipline as much as he can, not just be swing happy at the plate, and really try to show that he can get more of an opportunity than what anyone's projecting him to get going into the season, because that's a threat that they need, especially after Josh Naylor leaving now.
Andy, I already brought it up, but my question is Jose Ramirez. Can he repeat the year he had last year? He almost had 40-40. He was 1 home run short, and they got rained out, didn't they, the last game? He missed his chance to go 40-40, which stunk for him. Because I guarantee he probably would have hit a home run, just because that's just what Jose Ramirez does. But can he go 40-40? And again, it kind of goes back to my Carlos Santana question. Will he have the protection to get the pitching to enable him to get that many pitches to hit?
That's the tough part, is just, I don't know if there's enough protection behind him to make this quote unquote easy for him to get there. But I think it's hard to ever doubt him, because you're playing the game of, do you trust Father Time of, okay, at some point he's going to start waning, but it's Jose Ramirez, and anytime he says he's going to do something, you just know he's going to figure out how to do it, the same way you just said. I think we were all expecting game 162 to have a homer, because we just were ready for that 40-40, because he said 2 weeks before that, whenever he got that 40th steal, we were asking him what that was like. And he was like, yeah, it'll only be good if I get that 40th homer. Like, it's just like he knows what he wants and he's going to go get it. And he put on that full court press to make sure that it was coming down to the wire when no one thought it was even going to come that close. So it's hard to ever rule him out, and he'll figure out a way to will it to happen. It just seems like that's going to be one of my predictions for the year. That was one of my predictions in a story that I wrote earlier this month, I think it was, that Jose was going to go 40-40. Because if he says he's going to do something, he's going to do it. And we all know that he's going to run out of time at some point to be able to put up these types of numbers. So I think he'll figure out a way, but it is going to be much more difficult if he doesn't have bats behind him to offer him any protection. So a lot will be on Carlos Santana in the year that he's able to have. And if John Kenzie Noel can pan out to be a higher in the order bat than what he was last year, there's a lot of ifs going into 2025s.
Mandy, an article you need to write is about how Jose Ramirez will never age. You need to write it in spring training.
True.
When it's warm. He is the Highlander. Jose Ramirez looks exactly the same, smiles exactly the same, plays exactly the same as when he first got called up. So he will never age. Don't worry about that. He'll play till he's 50 in Cleveland.
That's true. It's true. It seems like it. He never ages. And it seems like it's so impressive, because every year everyone's kind of waiting for it to happen. And that's why fans are getting so frustrated at times, where they're not going all in the off season to try to make it seem like this is the win now approach, because everyone's saying we're wasting Jose's prime, we're wasting his prime. The longer that he's here, the less chance there is. But I don't know, just with him, it just doesn't seem like he'll ever allow father time to win.
All right, well then, to a young guy, number 1 overall pick, Travis Bazzana. Is he close enough to the big leagues that we see him in a major role? They kind of moved Andres Gimenez out of his position for him. There's kind of an opening there. Is it something that he gets a chance in spring training? Is it something later in the season? What's the outlook for Travis Bazzana?
I think they'll hide him a little bit in spring training, especially from Vogt, to try to not get him a little bit too excited to get him up there. They don't have him on the non-roster invitees list right now. They'll keep him on the minor league side, I'm sure, just to try to get him into a routine. But they like to do this with some of their really highly regarded prospects. I know they definitely did it with their pitching prospects when Tito was here, because he was just like, no, I want him now. I don't care how far along he is. I want him now. So I think he's going to be more on the minor league side a little bit. He'll come up and fill in some late innings in those early Cactus League games, I'm sure. And I'm sure fans will be so excited to see him every single inning that he gets. But I do think that at some point this year, he's going to be in the major leagues. Now, that's a huge jump for an organization that rarely ever rushes its prospects. But I think it's pretty telling that they're starting to carve out that path for him by moving Andres Gimenez. Now, there was a lot of money guaranteed to him for a guy who wasn't really producing offensively. So that played a role, but you don't really commit to that if you don't have that second baseman waiting. So I know they're excited about Juan Brito coming up and being the second baseman too at some point, if he's not on opening day and getting his chance in the big leagues. But this is a path for Bazzana, and I really do think that he gets up here at some point this year. It's just a matter, I mean, really, it's going to be up to him and his production and how quickly he's knocking on the door and bursting the door down to say, you have no option. Like, I'm doing everything I can. It's my time to be in the majors.
Yeah, I could see him doing that very quickly with a fast start, at whatever level he starts at coming up this season. All right, so we hit the big 4 storylines. We purposely didn't include the bullpen because I don't think anyone's like, oh, what if, what will the bullpen look like? It was freaking awesome last year. And they added Paul Sewald to the mix. So do you think that this is, again, going to be one of, if not the best bullpen in baseball?
I mean, if you're basing it solely on last year, it's hard to think anything else because all these guys were just so excellent. But I mean, it's hard to do that again. I mean, Class A had a once-in-a-lifetime type of season where he was just unbelievable, untouchable, to the point where it was ridiculous. And you just sort of thought it was weird if he ever allowed a runner to get on base. Like, it's not supposed to be that dominant. And Cade Smith was a rookie, and he was unbelievable, truly. And you can't expect a guy to just be perfect his whole career. Andrew Walters and Eric Sabrowski came up in September, and they didn't allow a single run. And again, that just doesn't happen. So you have to think that there's at least some sort of regression for these young guys. But I think everyone's general opinions are this bullpen's okay. And I think they're going to be doing just fine again because now they all do have experience. So, yes, there's going to be regression, but they also have all been there before. And now they can learn. They can take that into the offseason and figure out how to have a major league offseason where they prepare for a season of that workload, things that they hadn't worried about maybe as much in the past. And so they know what to expect now. I think that will help a lot. And I think adding Paul Sewald into the mix not only will just be like a guy who's been there and has just like a track record of having success on the mound, but it's more just like that leader for this young group because you look at everyone else's names, almost everybody else is in their first or second year in the big leagues, maybe third. And so it's just, I think that's going to be a huge, huge asset for this team to be able to have that type of clubhouse presence where you have that veteran to lean on and help you show you the way of how this is supposed to go.
Hey, Mandy, you're talking about veteran presence. We're going to show you the Guardians rotation. Isn't it missing somebody? Because there's a big piece on here. A guy that won a Cy Young not that long ago. Where's Tanner Bybee? There's Tanner Bybee. There's Ben Lively. There's Gavin Williams. There's Luis Ortiz. There's Tristan McKenzie. But where's Shane Bieber? Where is Shane Bieber? Because he's not listed on there. Is he healthy? I thought he was healthy and ready to rock this year.
He's not. He's probably going to be second half. So that's why they were needing to get as much help as they were able to get elsewhere beyond just signing Shane Bieber because they just don't have the depth. And so it's great to bring Bieber back. That was a huge pickup for them, only possible because he did have to get Tommy John last year and now recovering and diminished his value enough to allow him to come back to Cleveland. But they have to bridge the gap to get to him until he's healthy. And I think that the most optimistic type of outlook would be maybe June, but like it's certain to look where it's going to be that second half of the season where he'll play a big role. You just have to bridge that gap to get there.
Well, Mandy, this was awesome. Thank you for the download on the Cleveland Guardians. I felt like we didn't cover them enough this offseason. Obviously, they were a little quiet, but making a late push here.
They had the Yankees on the brink, man. They had the Yankees
They
on the
did.
brink.
That's why it was a freaking cool year for Cleveland fans. So we'll see if they can replicate it. Everyone give Mandy a follow on Twitter. She's at Mandy Bell 02. I'm actually wearing the Baseball is Best shirt today. Mandy's best friend is Sarah Lang, so you can get more information on her Twitter. You can always contribute to causes that are special and near and dear to Mandy and to Sarah and to all of us. So, Mandy, great to see you, and we'll catch you in spring training in Arizona.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
You know, there were a lot of good stories last year, a lot of positives, especially in the position player side. There were some growth and some big steps. You know, we can talk about Willier in right field. If you think about it, you know, he wasn't even playing the first road trip until Trevor gets hurt, and he becomes a Gold Glove defender in right. Jaron Duran. I mean, top 3 player probably in the American League, right? The most dynamic player, maybe in our league. He's up there with Mookie as far as like doing everything offensively, defensively, running the bases. Him, Bobby Witt, of course, right? But what he did, where he comes from, right? We still remember the fly ball at Fenway with bases loaded, the sun ball in Kansas City. And now he's a plus defender, which is awesome. You know, there were some kids that came up and they got their feet wet and they actually contribute. You know, David Hamilton for a month there was one of the most dynamic players in the big leagues. The pitching staff, they made some strides. 30 starts for Tanner, Brian, and Cutter. That's huge. Not only for what we tried to accomplish last year, but where we're going in the future, right? And they were in a good spot. We struggled again after the trade deadline. We didn't play well, which is kind of like, you know, something that keeps me up, just thinking about what we need to do better. And we actually know what we need to do better. We have to pitch better. We have to play defense. If you're consistent in those 2 areas and in this game, you're probably going to be in the hunt all the way till the end. We played some meaningful games in September, but we knew that we were, it was a Hail Mary, right? Like they say in football. But overall, with the expectations and being realistic of the roster and the youth of our where we at as an organization, it was an okay season. I will never say it's a good season when you don't make it to the playoffs. You never hear me say that, because at the end, that's the reason we're here. We're here to dance in October, and it's not only to tippy-toe for one series or just to make it. We're trying to make it a long run, and the long run is to win the World Series, and we haven't accomplished that since 2018.
Hot corner time. This one got some attention this week. Comps, Brian Giles and Juan Soto. And it was during a period of, hold on, the same, whatever it is, 7 years.
Brian Giles, 99 to 2005.
Okay.
And Juan Soto, his first 6 years, is what it was, basically.
So for the crowd that listens later, just to the
now, Brian
audio
Giles
side,
is also older at this time. So that's the difference.
That's the key, is that we did get a reply tweet to this
So
that said,
Go ahead.
through age 25 season, Brian Giles, baseball WAR 1.7. Through age 25 season, Juan Soto, 36.4 baseball WAR. But just comparing their seasons for a 6-year span, or whatever it is, 7-year span, what do we have?
Well, here's my question. I don't understand. I mean, they're very similar. Actually, Brian Giles beats him in a lot of things. If we can put that back up again. My question is, this is what I don't understand about how WAR is calculated. And again, I'm confused with this because I don't understand how and how people can have different things of WAR. Can we show that again though?
The
Jeremy
back-to-back.
Claude?
Remember, WAR is all categories.
I understand.
Okay.
Okay. My question is Brian Giles beats him in everything listed, right? Except OBP by 3 points. Okay. How does Juan Soto's OPS plus 9 points higher than Brian Giles? And how does Brian Giles have less WAR than Juan Soto when he played more games, had more hits, more homers, more RBIs, more stolen bases, his OBP is 3 points lower, better slug.
I have an answer.
I mean, Juan Soto's not a good defender either.
I have an answer, and I'm just the messenger.
Okay.
So he has the OPS plus advantage at 160 versus 151 because OPS plus weighs the time period, right? So they're taking everyone's numbers, right, during certain eras and being like, okay, those numbers look great, but offense was up a little bit during that time period, right? Or you were in this ballpark versus this ballpark. That's what the stat does, OPS plus. So that's that side of it. The other side is, I don't know what they had for base running and defensive metrics for Soto versus Giles, but that's what will give him a little boost. But also, in fairness, I mean, Soto's at a 36.4 during this time period, and Giles is at 35.8. So I don't get into too many semantics when they're that close.
I understand, but still, if you look at the numbers, though, and I know they're different ages, I get it. But Brian Giles beats him in everything. So I know defense has to matter, but he still beats him in everything except for OBP by 3 points.
He's got 9 points on him on OPS plus. That matters.
Okay, so that goes into WAR?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so again, you know what I'm excited, Kratzy? Me and you, we're going to come up with a stat, and we're going to make like some guy look really good on some stat. We're just going to make some stat up. Because I get it, but it does. This is why I think people look too much into WAR sometimes, because it just doesn't make sense all the time to me.
It doesn't make sense all the time. They're trying to make it easier, and it convolutes it a little bit. But I'll be honest, I had no idea Brian Giles had it like this. I saw him at the end of his career. He had kind of got deflated a little bit. I had no idea his numbers were like this. They're elite numbers. And he's pretty much the age after when he had started his career. He's the age Soto is now. So if Soto has the same years and equals what Brian Giles did, then they're getting some of their money's worth. Not all their money's worth, but some of it. But man, I had no idea.
Yeah, you would have gotten a lot more money back then if you hit the free agent market at the right time. Different era, but just throwing it
Not
out
at
there. All right,
31.
let's bring in our next. Yep. Well, that's true. That's the big difference is the age. So that's why Soto gets paid what he did. Peaked. Yeah. Let's bring in our next guest. And we are going to make a nice little announcement as we have added a new show to the mix, and you're going to get your post-game fill of Red Sox content. Robbie Hyde, who is awesome on YouTube, creator, baseball world for years now, is part of the FT fam. Robbie, great to have you on. And let's introduce what was Fenway Faithful and is now Monster Territory. How you doing, man?
Doing great, man. Thanks for having me. It's an honor to be here. It's a great time right now. So,
yeah, it's been a long time coming. We've been talking about this for a minute. So why don't you let fans, and especially Red Sox fans, know what you'll be bringing to the table this coming season. And of course, you can use a comp. You can use their rival for a comp to give them an idea of what it'll look and sound like.
yeah. So obviously on the Foul Territory Network, you have Pinstripe Territory, and we're going to be Monster Territory. We're going to be doing post-game shows. We're going to be talking all Red Sox news. I mean, every day we'll be talking something over there. In this offseason, we've already had a lot to talk about. So it's only going to get busier as the season goes on. So I'm excited for it.
Podcast battle. We're going to have Derek and Robbie. Let's go.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go.
It's like a
Yankees,
dance-off.
Red Sox. Let's go like the old days. All right.
I'm surprised
Robbie,
he let
you
me on
haven't
his show a couple weeks ago. I thought I was going to get
Wow.
torched, but no, we
People are so much
got
nicer.
through it. It was pretty good.
Okay.
He
good.
loves the
I'm glad.
Red
Now,
Sox
my
anyway.
question- So, Robbie, you haven't had much to talk about. They made the Garrett Crochet move, but since then it's kind of been the Red Sox are in on this guy.
Bueller.
Okay. I forgot about Bueller, but they've been in on this guy. They're in on this guy. They're in on this guy. They're in on this guy. And they never get him. Now they went and traded for Crochet. They got Bueller on a short-term deal. What are the Red Sox doing, and where is John Henry putting his money? Is it under his mattress?
I mean, who knows? It could be hidden in some little corridor around Fenway Park. I'm not really sure, but Alex Bregman is the guy right now. They need a right-handed hitter in the lineup. He brings just a lot of things to the table that the Red Sox need right now. They need that balance in the lineup. They also need a little bit better defense in the infield as well, but they really do need a big voice in that clubhouse, in my opinion. Rafael Devers is the guy that people look to, but he said himself he doesn't really want to be that guy. Alex Bregman has that championship pedigree, a lot of success in Houston. He's hit very well at Fenway Park in his career. To me, he just makes all the sense. It's just a matter of, are they going to open up the checkbook? I'm not sure. I don't know if they're going the JD Martinez playbook from what they did back in 2018. We'll see what ends up happening, but Bregman is the guy that Red Sox fans are hoping for right now.
So you recently connected with Alex Cora. People can hit up your channel and check out that interview. It was really good. I listened to it yesterday. Did you get any inkling of his interest in Bregman? I know he talked about him in the past. What do you think that he's pleading for with the front office? I do think he has more influence than most managers do. Do you agree?
Yeah, I would agree on that. And they're very good at hinting at things without actually saying it out loud. And I felt like I got that in the interview that we had where, we're talking about adding a right-handed hitter. He brought up the JD Martinez situation from 2018. Go back to that time, they were looking for $200 million. And the Red Sox called their bluff. And he was saying, just be patient, just try and wait this out. And, I felt like he was sort of hinting at that possibility, but, there are teams involved here who would also love to bring him in. So we'll see what ends up happening, but you do get a strong inclination that Cora, he really would like to have him on board.
How about what Alex Cora said when he was on your show about Jarren Duran? Is that the sentiment that you feel the same about being a top 3 most dynamic players, if not top 3 best players in the American League?
Yeah, I mean, when you just take a look at the growth of Duran, that kind of to me is where Cora was getting at with him, because he's really come a long way over the last few years. You take a look at the bad defensive plays that happened. There was one game against Toronto. I think they lost like 82-1 or something like that. But that was a moment where he was getting pretty drudged on by the fans, and and take a look at the year that he just had, going to the All-Star game. He thinks very highly of him, but I think most of all, he's just seen him mature and grow into the player that he is today. So I think he's very excited about him moving forward.
Right, just quick look. So I can see a case for maybe even top 5 coming off this season.
He had a great year.
Yeah, Judge and Witt, and I think he then considered him next. I'm going to give Gunnar Henderson the edge, and I know it's not like he's been doing it forever, but I think top 5 is probably a more reasonable space to make a case for.
5.
Cool? Are we good
Fine,
with that?
I'm good with that.
Okay, cool.
Plus, he's got a sweet attitude, which I love. So
he came on our show, and
yeah,
he was bringing it.
It was special. That's fine. But Robbie, you mentioned, or I think Kratz mentioned Tristan Casas. What do we expect from him? Is he going to be healthy? He does all the quirky things. He goes out there in ski mask and grounds himself and does yoga with his shirt off and all these quirky things. But at some point, you have to play. And you have to be healthy and you have to be out there. Is this the year where he takes that next step and becomes the first-round pick and the first baseman of the future for the Red Sox?
Getting back to Duran here, right? Duran's been a guy that's, missed time in the past too, and he was able to put it together this past year. I think there's a lot of high hopes for Casas. He has been in the rumor mill a lot this offseason, but Craig Breslow, he's come out and said, I don't know where this is coming from. Who knows, how truthful he's being there. But in the end, Casas does have a ton of upside with the bat. Breslow himself has said, 40 home run power per season. This is a big year for him, and he needs to show that he can stay on the field and be consistent. And quite frankly, they need that. They lost him for a lot this past year, and they're going to need that power production in the middle of the order. So.
Well, Robbie, great analysis. As always, a lot more that people can get on Monster Territory, and it is a fire logo, too. So go check that out. QR code's on the screen, wherever you get your pods, wherever you watch or listen. Robbie, thanks for joining us, man. There it is. There's the side-by-side with Cora. We haven't even had Alex Cora on. Robbie's getting Alex Cora, so I got to give it to you. Robbie, we're excited. We'll catch you on after every single Red Sox game, and obviously plenty of content every week for Red Sox fans to absorb. You'll have some friends joining you. So thanks again, man. Congrats. We're excited.
Thank you very much. I've been wanting to cover the Red Sox for a long time now, and to have this opportunity, it's a huge honor. So thank you to all of you, and I'm excited for this season.
Yeah, you're going to crush, man. Super nice, super knowledgeable. Be right back with Jack Flaherty.
I just wanted to hit on Sale. I mean, just to put it in perspective, yes, he won the Cy Young. He's making the same contract. He has the same contract, almost identical as Marcus Stroman right now. Marcus Stroman and Chris Sale over the next 2 years, thinking that both club options are going to get picked up. Like it's not even close. And this is where other teams had an opportunity to trade for him. Other teams had an opportunity to see the value, and then they went and extended him before they it's a trust in the full organization. When you sit there and you go, Marcus Stroman might be on the trading block for the Yankees, and they might have to eat his entire contract or most of his contract because it's more of just a meh contract. But you sit there and you have the Cy Young Award winners getting the same amount of money.
Is this a situation where, because of the spending, when I look at the roster, do they just believe that this roster still can compete? Like I see you still have 3 decent, top of the line starters in that division. You're banking on Royce Lewis and Kyle Larnick and Eddie Julian, I'm guessing. Like, do they still just think that if healthy, Byron Buxton, God willing, he can stay on the field. If healthy, they still feel like they still with this roster can be competitive. Is it just as simple as that as well?
I mean, that's definitely part of it. But they also, I think, thought that last year. And 2/3 of the way through the season, that was looking pretty accurate. And then they just completely collapsed. I don't think this is a great division. I mean, this is really never a great division. I think 85, 88, certainly 90 wins might win this division. And they're probably capable of that. I do think this is a winning team, even with the collapse they finished with 82 wins last year. Like you said, I mean, the Lopez, Ober, Joe Ryan top three is good in the rotation. I think, Duran and Jax is leading a strong bullpen. They do have, Correa, Buxton, Royce Lewis in the lineup, but they're really missing like the complementary pieces that you would add to free agency, 5 million, 8 million, 10 million, the small trades that are kind of fixing up the margins of the roster. And that may seem unimportant compared to those core guys that I just mentioned. But if that's the difference between, another 82 win season and getting to 87, 88, 89 wins, that could be, like we saw last year, the difference between making the playoffs and not making the playoffs. And so I think that's part of the frustration. This is not a bad team. This is a pretty good team with a good core, but when you don't supplement that core for going on 18 months now, you fall behind the rest of the pack.
World Series champ Jack Flaherty joining us right now on Foul Territory. He's back. Jack, great to see you, man.
Wait, was he tweeting right then?
Get it out of his hand! Take it from him!
Hey,
Oh man.
you got a little
No, I was
tension the
watching
other day, Jack.
a clip.
Wait, we lost you for a sec. What'd you say?
I was watching a clip on Slug Ball. I was trying to see what this is, what's going on.
Yeah, Ruben Amaro's behind
Yeah, I saw that clip.
He's
I was
part
on
of our
Instagram
group.
the other day, and I saw that.
Yeah.
I have no idea what it is. It looked like a bunch of softball players hitting home runs, and then I don't know. Maybe
Ruben's part of it, so we'll get him on. Ruben's hosts our Philly show, so we'll ask him and we'll report back. But how you been, man? You fighting through it? Because you had a pretty damn good year and you won a World Series.
I'm doing, you know what? I'm doing good. I'm hanging out. Just working and trying to get ready for next year wherever I end up. Just been grinding away as if all things are normal, which they definitely aren't, but just been grinding away trying to get ready.
what is it? What's not normal? I mean, you pitched great last year. You were traded. You won you started game one of the World Series for the team that won the World Series. You were healthy. You had an unbelievable year. What's not normal? I don't understand how. I brought you up how many times? I'm like, where the hell
80.
are the Jack Flaherty rumors? Why have I heard nothing? I just don't understand. Like, you should have been on the top of the list for 20 teams.
You would hope so after it was kind of okay. In 23, I got to prove that I'm healthy, and in 24, I got to go out and actually be healthy and good again, because I struggled in 23. Like there's no hiding behind it. It wasn't very good. And you go into the off season with a hope of hopefully getting off the board quickly and whatnot. And now we're sitting here on January 23rd with no rumblings, nothing really going on, just waiting, and all the other top guys are gone, and we waited for Sasaki, and it's not normal in the fact that I don't know where I'm going to go play, don't know where I'm going to spring training. Everything else is, but in terms of why, I wish I had a really good answer for you. I don't know. I wish I had a better answer other than I don't know what's making this so difficult.
You said not really. So I need 100% confirmation that no team has called and been like, hey, what are you up to? Like, they're just crickets. They're like, they don't even know you exist.
It's like, what are you up to? And it's like, are we going to have a conversation about figuring out a deal, or are you just going to ask, what am I up to? Like, is it like, again, it's just like, and it's like, well, when is the market going to move? And I'm like, well, what do you mean? Like, when is the market going to move? It's just like, you just have to make an offer, and then it'll go. But just calling and checking in, being like, oh, how's it going? How are you feeling? I'm like, I feel great. I'm just trying to figure out where we're going to play next year. I don't know. It's weird.
Do you feel like teams don't want to win? Do you feel like they're more work because of what you did? Because of what you did last year, not only did you prove that you can help a team win, but you won. You helped a team make to the playoffs, and then you helped another team in the playoffs in the World Series. You are clearly a winner. You grew up in a winning organization. To me, winning is just all around you. You're not even 30 yet. Do you feel like teams don't want to win bad enough, as bad as players want to win?
I think teams want to win. I think this crazy part. I'm 29. I'm gonna be 29 this whole season. It's not like I'm an older guy in free agency, and it's my second go around. I'm gonna be 29 the whole year. Just turned 29 in October, and it's not that I don't think teams want to win. I think you have just a certain number of teams that want to win, and they look at their rosters and they're happy with it. So when you have a lot of the league kind of just like, well, we're okay. And you've got the White Sox trading away Crochet, who's one of their only pieces that they have to the Red Sox, and like all like kudos to the Red Sox for going and getting him. That takes a spot away from where I could have potentially gone. They go out and get an ace and a stud and Crochet from a team that has, we're not sure what's going on there. They just set the record for losses, and then they now get rid of more players. So I think teams want to win, but I also think teams just want to get into the playoffs. Maybe it's not World Series or bust, or it's just hope we can get into the playoffs and then kind of see what happens. And so I don't know. It was a good year last year. It was a good run. Some starts in the postseason were good, some weren't. It's just kind of the way that it goes. But I'm gonna go out there and throw until it's time to take the ball out of my hands. And and as of right now, we're waiting. I'm not. I just want to play ball.
Jack, you're going to play ball. Well, I got to ask you. You brought up 23 and how it went, and then you went to 24. What was the difference? I want to know what the difference was in 23 and 24, because I remember you being super hyped as a Cardinals guy, and then you obviously go to Baltimore, things don't work out, but then you go to Detroit and you had an unbelievable start. You go to LA, continue that. So what was the difference between 23 to 24 and where you're at now?
Well, I think even in 23 in St. Louis, it was a little bit kind of the first change that we've had there in terms of, Yachty had been there forever, and I came up with him and Matt Wieters and was able to throw to them a bunch, and it was a first time changing catchers, and there was some ups and downs. And I came on here last year to defend Wilson and the comments that I made after a game, because he truly was awesome and really did work while he was there. And then it was the first time, I changed organizations and try to change a few things, and working with a new catcher, new system, and all these things, and it just sometimes didn't go well. So it's continuity is a great thing, and then I switched some things in my off season. I moved out of LA, kind of went and revamped a couple things, revamped my mind, revamped the way I was moving, and then go to Detroit, and they do a really, really good job there with Feder and Robin Lund and AJ. Like, they're all awesome there, and it's shown, Scuba's a Cy Young. That dude's a stud, and he's so much fun to be around as well. And then was just able kind of to carry that over into LA, but you could see there was still, and I think it just, for me, having being traded at the deadline, and guy who just got put in the Hall of Fame, what CC Sabathia was able to do when he got traded. And he got traded a little bit earlier, but was he able to do switching teams in the middle of a season? You could see there was a little bit of a change going from what I did in Detroit to LA, and there was some up and down. And you're trying to get on board with your catcher. You're trying to figure some things out on the fly in the middle of a playoff run, and it's not always the easiest thing to do. But I think I was just able to mentally reset, physically get my body in better places to carry it on throughout the year, and just trust my stuff. And when you got two teams that trust you to send you out there and give you the ball and in big situations and big games. And AJ left me out there in certain games when, pitch count got up there. Sometimes it didn't work out. I could remember, you know, the Dalton Varsho got me on hit a home run off me in the 7th inning, and he had to come out and get me afterwards, and we lost the lead. And Doc gave me some games where the pitch count ran up and we went a little bit deeper, and giving me the ball in game 1 and game 5, and both times in game 5 I didn't pitch well, and but in the World Series the boys were able to pick me up, and we won that game. It was, yeah.
The Tigers win the American League if you're still on the Tigers. I know it's ifs and buts and all that stuff.
I wanted to stay in Detroit. We had conversations, and I loved it there, and I thought the combo of me and Scoob was incredible. And then you saw what they did, the run that they went on, even after I got traded, and they brought all those young guys up. I think, they got to. It's hard to say. I mean, they get to at least you get to game 5 with Cleveland, and they got Scoob on the mound, and Lane Thomas puts one swing, and that's how the playoffs go. Is as crazy as it is. Do I think we win that series? Probably. We probably win that series and face the Yankees in the ALCS, which is crazy to think about. So we win that series. I don't know. But I think we get there. I think at least we get there. But it's things like that, but they get some prospects in return who, ended up doing a good job for them and have been great. And it's it was fun to watch what they did, and we've been talking to them and talking to other teams, and just like, hey, it'd be fun to go back there.
How about the other team that you almost got traded to? The Yankees. Two parts for me. Do you think it's fair that it was put out there that they failed your medicals? And do you think it's fair that if you were on the Yankees, now all of a sudden, what would you have done to your Dodger boys in the World Series?
I'm going to tread carefully on if it was fair. When it came out, it was just like, they were still trying to trade for me as it was going on. So they dropped that after the trade, but they had still been trying to up to the deadline to make just a different trade. Like, we don't love the medicals, but they were still trying to make a trade. And, I was like, okay, whatever. I'm in LA now. I'm not worried about it. And then ending up against them in the World Series was kind of a full circle thing. But, if I'm there, do we? I don't know. It would have been fun playing against the Dodgers and going against them and being on the other side. I'm happy with the way that things turned out. And it was, crazy with just the injuries that happened in LA with Glass going down and Stoney going down, and Yamamoto missing some time, and Kirsch not being able to come back. I was just fortunate enough to stay healthy and take the ball when I was asked. Yama gave that huge game 5 start against San Diego. He was incredible, and I was lucky enough in game 1 to go out and give him a good start, and game 1 of the World Series go out and give a good start. So are things different? Maybe, and if you look at it in terms of what happens on the LA side, if that trade doesn't happen, if it's like, would they have gotten somebody else to fill those starts, or what would it have looked like? That's the interesting part. But I'm happy with the way it worked out. We won, got to win in the hometown. Can't complain about it.
Did you call, speaking of your hometown, did you call your boy Max Fried and say, listen, man, they failed me, bro. Be careful when you sign with the Yankees for all that money. You never know. Like, they might fail you after they sign you.
No.
Carlos Correa style.
I went over to Max's house, gave him a big hug. Right when I could. He was with some family, and that night I went over to his house, gave him a big hug, and just talked to him, and couldn't have been happier for him. So they got an unbelievable guy. He's a stud. He's been a stud this whole time in the league, and you love seeing guys get paid. No matter who it is, you love seeing guys get paid. What they're worth, and especially with how long and how good you have to be in baseball just to get to free agency, and just to see guys like get what they're worth. And I mean, I don't know. There's been not very many long-term deals given out this year. You obviously, you've got Soto, you've got Max, you've got Burns, Blake, Willie, but everything else has been pretty short. So I was stoked for Max. I could care less about what happened and whatnot. They got a good one, and I hope he goes there and thrives.
Nice. I love hearing that. So then this leads to my next question. You just mentioned that a lot of teams aren't given long-term deals. Do we need a floor? Do we need a salary floor in baseball? Because the problem is I always say is if you go floor, then the owners are going to want a cap, and that's going to lead to a huge fight between the owners and the players. So I don't know how you have a cap and not have a floor, or vice versa. So it's a slippery slope, right?
There's a soft cap.
There is already a soft cap in the luxury tax. And I'm not a part of the PA anymore. I was in it for a while, and I'm not on the executive committee anymore. So I don't want to. You don't want to cap. You don't want a hard cap because the way that owners are operating and maneuvering right now, that's a weird situation. I don't know that you need a floor. You just need teams to want to win. And the team that just won the World Series, and this was like the basis of the tweet, was the team that just won the World Series has made the most additions, and how everybody. It's like, well, they just defer money. They just do this and that. I was like, well, yeah, I mean, people want to go play in LA. They want to win. People want to play in Philly. That's an unbelievable place to go play and win. It's not that the only place that you can go and win. Like, yeah, you want to go play with Shohei. You want to play with Mookie. You want to play with Freddie. Those guys are awesome. You want to be around Kirsch. Like, those guys were incredible. I was lucky enough to spend 3 months with them and win the World Series. But there's other places to go that are Max is going to New York, Yankees, unbelievable. Walker is going to Boston, unbelievable place to go and win. Houston, Philly, like there's places to go that have won and are consistently in the playoffs and are consistently right there with the chance to win. And then there's everybody else that is kind of just sitting in limbo, and well, we're cutting payroll here, but adding here, and then but we're not really going to we're not doing anything else. But the team that just won the World Series has made the most additions, and you're like, how do they keep getting guys? It's like, well, they're just getting better and trying to go back to back, which is very clearly what they're trying to do. And I just go back to back, but they got Shohei for the next 9 years. They've got Yamamoto for the next 11 years. They're going to have Sasaki for, I don't know how that works. I think it's the next 6 years at least. They have Blake for the next. So they're not trying to go back to back. They're trying to win as many as they can in that time frame. And then who knows what happens after that? But you got to respect, hey, we're not just all in for this year. We're all in for the next whatever it is, 9 years. I think Mookie has 7 more years on his deal. I don't know what Freddie's deal is. They got those guys and they're going to be there. And you got to appreciate the fact, damn, that's cool, but you'd like to see the other teams make the same additions, because you would think, okay, we got to catch this team. We need to go add. Well, the top team, they just added more pieces. And yeah, you'd hope that you got to catch them somehow.
Agreed. By the way, you almost said Chicago, and no, that was a bad choice. Teams that are going to be good, especially one on the south side. But I got to ask you about your other old team while we have, because the Cardinals used to try to play. They used to try to play in those waters, right? And did you ever think there would be a day where you heard the Cardinals say, we're not trying this year? Because they always have tried forever, as long as I can remember. And they kind of came out and said, we're not going to be that good this year, fans. So everyone clamor down. We're going to kind of reset for a year. That's crazy to me because the Cardinals are the team that could go do it. I always feel like.
I mean, they can, and they tried. They go get Sonny last year, and is Wilson's second year, and Nolan struggled a little bit last year, but I've seen the way he's working and the way he's going about his business and the way Newbar, that those guys are going to turn around. It's weird to think about of them being like, well, we're going to reset this year, and we're going to try to trade Nolan. Well, we haven't traded Nolan for I don't know. It's like we're going to reset, but we can't trade Nolan Arenado, and for teams to be like, no, we don't want Nolan Arenado or whatever that situation is weird. Why you wouldn't want that guy who's working his tail off this entire offseason, is one of the best guys to have in a locker room. That's that place was great. I think that there's been interesting things going on since my last couple years there, and I got painted a certain way by in my time as I was leaving there. People were saying that I always wanted to leave, and I always wanted to go west, and yet I went and signed in Detroit last year. I didn't go there. I'm not going back to LA. It can do the numbers, it can do the math. It doesn't bother me. I'm trying to go elsewhere and win and see if we can't beat those guys. Yeah, but it's weird. Because that those guys there want to win. I know Nolan wants to win. I know Mason Wynn wants to win. He's a gamer. He's going to compete every single time out. Sonny wants to win and compete. Wilson wants to win. Like they're not really about, those guys aren't about numbers. Like they want to win, and if they start winning, those numbers they're gonna produce. And it's hard when you're not winning to it's a lot easier to stay locked in when you're winning than it is when you're not.
That you talked about that.
Agreed. A
Yeah.
million percent.
You talked
way
about that a
better.
lot. Yeah.
Way better. Way easier to show up every day when you're like, oh, we're going to win today.
Right. When you're in a race.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
We got a chance than
Yep.
it is being on a 100-loss team. That's awful.
Well, Jack, we're following the story. Obviously, we appreciate the hell out of you coming on after the tweet caught a lot of good attention in my mind because it's time for some other teams to wake the hell up. So thanks for joining us, dude. We'll have you back when you got the deal rolled out, when someone wakes up. Okay.
I appreciate it. You guys are great.
Someone
awesome,
sign
dude.
Jack Flaherty to a
Please.
big deal. Please.
He's
He deserves it.
29.
Come on. Somebody. I've been asking for it for 3 months now. Somebody do it.
Crazy.
Appreciate
Thanks,
you guys.
Jack. We'll talk to you soon, bud. How ironic. We're hitting BetMGM Marlins win total right off that conversation. 63.5. We're all going under. They're going to be freaking terrible.
What's the number?
Market 63.5.
They don't even have them losing 100?
No.
What did I say? What did I say?
Oh my gosh. Under.
Book it. Under.
Book it.
I thought it would be like 58.
Under.
Wow. Okay.
I got him at like 110.
I previewed this. Like, their only hope is that Yuri Perez and Alcantara come back and do well, and then they're going to get traded. They're going to get rid of those guys. Like, two dudes coming off of Tommy John. When I locked in the other one the other day for us, I told you guys I would lock it in. I stumbled across the Marlins, and I was like, oh, I've said it like 3 or 4 times. Please, I can't wait until we get to the Marlins. 63.5. Under.
Look at their roster.
How much should I put down?
Wait, I want people to be serious and look at the Marlins, or don't look at the Marlins roster and really, right? Even if you're a hardcore baseball fan, as long as you're not a Marlins fan, tell me how many players you can name in their starting lineup.
Better question. I'm going to ask this question now. Are they able to beat the White Sox record last year?
No, they won't hit
you
that
number. You don't think they'll lose that many? Because
No,
there were some White Sox players you could name.
They won't hit that number. And I do think Alcantara gets moved, but Yuri Perez doesn't. I think he's still making league minimum. They're not going to move that. I mean, they need somebody to throw innings. They had one shy of the record, I think, for most starters used in a season last year. So, yeah, it is an abomination. And the game plan is ridiculous because they think they're going to copy the Rays. Even the Rays have kind of internally, I just heard this the other day, said, hey, like we were ahead of the curve, but like a lot of places have caught up. The Marlins are like 20 miles behind being like, we're going to do what the Rays did in 2010 or whatever. It's like, dude, we're so far ahead of you. This is a mess. I lived there. I'm pissed. Think you know football? Prove it. And BetMGM's free to play game. Go check it out online or on the BetMGM app. They go round by round with the $1 Million Playoff Football Challenge promotion. Answer 3 questions per round during the big game playoffs. If you answer all 3 correctly, you'll win a share. Bonus bets for that playoff round. Gambling problem or concern, call 1-800-GAMBLER. We'll take 1 or 2 of your questions coming up next on FT. People, we're back. I was having a conversation, or just 1 or 2 back and forth combos here with Michael in the chat who was saying, hey, not every team has, $1 billion plus to spend in the offseason. I completely agree. I am totally on the same page here. I do think the pendulum has swung so far the other way that people's expectations are tilted, right? Where you're like, oh, my team did this one little thing. Like if you go back to the not so distant past, expectations were higher in off seasons, and also moves were made earlier. From a business standpoint, for all purposes, it makes sense to sign or trade for players earlier in the offseason because then it impacts season ticket sales. I have friends who have season tickets to teams across the country, and they talk to their ticket reps, and they're like, yo, you haven't done anything. And then they call them like March 1st, like, look, we did something. And they're like, all right, too late. So come on. I think you need to do a check with yourself and say, should this team be doing more? And did my expectations go so far down that I've lost a sense of reality with the offseason? I think that's why it was important to have Jack on. This doesn't have to do with players on our show supporting players. Come on. Jack's 29, coming off a great year, pitched game 1 of the World Series. Is he going to get a $300 million contract? Is he going to get Corbin Burns deal? No. But we just had him on, and he said he's getting phone calls from teams like, hey, how you doing? And he's like, good. Do you have an offer? No, just checking in. Because you know what they're doing? They're seeing if he goes, I just really want to pitch. I'll take a 1-year deal. Why does he have to do another 1-year deal after the 1-year deal he just did? I'm genuinely curious. Like, what am I missing here? Again, I'm not saying
they don't want to win.
Oh, he's got to get $200 million or whatever it is.
They don't want to win bad enough.
I don't know, Scott. I don't know. I've been saying it for months. That's
Okay.
it. I've been saying it for months. I don't know.
Be right
If I
back.
knew the answer, I would be Scott Boras, I guess.
All right, here we are. But just throwing it out there, and some people are going to be like, oh, you bash owners too much. I'm not even talking about owners. I'm just like, even it's a team to bring up because I know Braves fans have been freaking out. We've been trying to temper expectations, but they could use a starter. The problem with Atlanta, do you know what the problem with Atlanta is that I found out the other day? They are actually trying to reset and stay under the luxury tax. That's fine. I'm not criticizing the Braves. They've spent plenty of money. But do you know what the luxury tax is? It's a soft cap. So that takes them out of the mix this year for a player like Flaherty. They just lost 2 starters. And I still think they have nice arms, but I'd be a little concerned.
Why do you think they traded
in Atlanta.
Soler? Why do you think they've made some of the moves? They let Charlie Morton walk because of what you just said.
It's a cap. That's my point.
But the problem with having a soft cap is you don't have a soft floor. So you can't. So other teams should have to spend the money. That's the one thing about the NBA. People say what they want, but there's like 12th men on the NBA that make like $10 million a year. Why? Because the team isn't trying, but they have to spend a certain amount.
Yes.
So they go sign the 12th guy for like $10 million. The guy's like, I get 2 minutes. Never.
The biggest crime is that revenue sharing doesn't have to be proven, not every penny with player payroll. So like we just were talking about the Marlins. Last year, the Marlins said, we can't sign players because we're focusing on hiring internal staff. Nobody on that internal staff is making millions of dollars. And then this offseason, we still haven't seen anything. They already hired the internal staff. So this is the kind of stuff we're talking about.
They've signed
with
0
revenue
major
sharing.
league players, right? 0, the Marlins.
Yeah. Last year
major
they
league
signed
contracts.
one for $5 million.
Tim Anderson,
Yep.
your guy.
And the Twins in a 2-year span now haven't signed anyone. Hockey at the number 1 spot. Roman Anthony 2. There's some Red Sox in there. Christian Campbell, number 4 overall prospect.
4.
But that's why, Cora wants Bregman, but the Red Sox want Campbell because they think he's going to be ready soon. That's the battle that's going on. I know they're just prospects, but the Red Sox think they have 2 impact players for 2025, and Baseball America agrees. Roman Anthony and Christian Campbell.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I think Bregman's signing with Detroit or Toronto, not Boston.
When?
March 12th? I don't know.
I mean, Bregman can rent your apartment if he signs with Detroit.
It's close enough to Lakeland?
Not that far.
I guess. I don't know. I feel like he can do better than
Let him.
downtown. But Travis Bazzana popped up at 24 on their list, and JJ Weatherholt 25. Just some notable names from the draft last year. Chase Burns, Reds, 27th.
Where's Cags at?
Looking 63.
Matters.
I don't know.
No.
There's a difference, though. Why you think Jack Caggs should be higher on their list? We got 2 more minutes for the
You got a
YouTube
guy
fam.
who hit 40-plus homers in the SEC.
Yeah.
And you got J.J. Weatherholt. Nothing against J.J., but he's a 5'8" slap hitter that plays shortstop. No offense. I don't know. I'm just saying. He's a great hitter, but for me, I want the guy that will hit me 40, especially in Kansas City. Because those guys are hard to find.
Is it swing and miss concerns?
He didn't swing and miss. They told him to stop swinging and missing. He stopped swinging and missing last year.
No, I'm a fan.
I know.
I'm high
I don't
on
know. I just don't understand.
Jack.
I don't get why. I don't know. I don't know how prospect rankings work, but whatever.
It's a good question for JJ. Maybe next week we can get one of the Baseball America people on there and we can pick like 5 guys and be like, why is this player so high? Why is this player so low? Trying to see if there's anyone else on the list that stands out for being too high or too low. You got Andrew Painter in the top 10. Phillies prospect.
If he's healthy.
Phillies had 4.
Yeah,
Phillies had 4 in the top 100. That's pretty good for a team that's spent so much on their big league team.
You're right. Aiden Miller is one of the fastest rising prospects in the sport. If you want to look up what he's up to and just what the swing looks like. Tigers have a lot of prospects on here too. Jackson Jobe is 3. Max Clark, 22. Kevin McConaughey, 23.
Scotty, you're
right.
buzzing right now. You're buzzing right now, so we'll kind of try to reset your mic there. But prospects, I mean, if we mentioned every time that a prospect fizzled out, they're something to build your organization. Look at the Dodgers. The Dodgers have prospects. They trade them to get the big leaguers that are established and ready to go right away. That's okay. It's okay if the Orioles trade from some of their prospect depth. They're not all gonna pan out. You're really lucky that you already have Adley and Gunnar in the show. Like, to me, that's where the value is with a prospect. It's okay. Be okay with them succeeding somewhere else. They don't have to just succeed in only your organization.
I'm with you. We're back.
I have no idea what you said. We're out. See you in New York, people.
Yeah. Well,
live from New York. It's Saturday night.
AJ Pierzynski.
Oh man, I can't believe I'm going to New York. Do I need anything, Mark? Do I need like a hat?
What do I need here, Mark? That's a frozen AJ Pierzynski.
Like a pop.
It's not even that cold.
For AJ, it's cold, and for me, it's cold, even though I spent most of my life up there. 100th annual New York Baseball Writers Award Center, Saturday. But also, we have a show tomorrow. AJ's off, but we got Todd Father. I'll be there. See you then. I got to sneeze. Ah. Woo! Got it on the air.
Bless you!
Dodgers territory next.